Hi, Jeff from Ludum Press. How is everybody? I hope you're playing games. I hope you're doing some really hard bloody rolls out there and having some success, or at least having a load of laughs, because that's what gaming's about. So just a little update on where we're at. Two major things. First thing is Ludum's doing what it always does, wargaming counters. So I'm doing some new aircraft counters, 1600, 1700 scale. They are going to cover, if you're Vietnamese, it's the resistance war against America, or if you're an American or the Allies there, it is more commonly known as the Vietnam War. So as always, I'm attempting to make these as historically accurate as possible. I've been out expanding my photographic library for lots of aircraft types. I work from photographs because I'm just a lover of history. If you're going to replicate something in a historical manner, I think it's important to try and be as accurate as you can. So I'm redoing lots of panel lines, blah blah blah, a lot of work in there, but obviously you can see some of what I've started on. So I'll keep you up to date on how that's going. The second thing is I've talked for the last couple of years, I'm almost finished writing what would have been our first RPG product, LP1, The Beacon of Illenvale. I was going to produce that under the Osric license. Currently that's on hold, and I'm not doing anything with that. I'm concentrating on the counters. Now, if you're a war gamer and you're not into role-playing game stuff, I'm going to talk a bit about licensing and a big furor that's going on in the role-playing community. So if you're a war gamer, see you later. Make sure you sub. Now, for those role players who are around, if you haven't heard, obviously, the role-playing community, the Dungeons and Dragons community, has for 20 years existed and worked with a license called 1.0A Open Game License. This license is owned by Wizards of the Coast, and a couple of weeks ago a leaked copy came out of changes that they wanted to do to this license. I'll try and be fairly brief. It's a really big long story over the past couple of weeks. This has dragged out. Down below I'll put you a link to an early summary of what the original version looked like. It's from Legal. It's a bit technical, but it gives you a good understanding. So where we're at the moment is a couple of days ago, Wizards put out a thing saying we're not going to touch the license, we're going to leave it alone. Their original position was that they're going to revoke it. And there were clauses in the first version 1.1 of the new license that they wanted to bring out, the leaked version, had some very loose legal language in it. And they were claiming they're going to do all sorts of things. They're going to be morality police. There's a morality clause in there where they're going to decide whether your stuff can be published or not published, rather than a court determine something, whether something's discriminatory or hateful. Wizards were going to do it on their own, apparently. And lots of little things. They were going to revoke that 1.0A license, so all of the people's content would be revoked. You wouldn't be able to produce under that. Massive amount of changes. They've backed all that back now. Like I said, they're going to leave the license alone. They produced the 5th version of Dungeons and Dragons as Creative Commons content. That's a fantastic move in a way. It brings out the whole rule set, well, a section of the rule set, I shouldn't say the whole rule set, for people to use as a framework to build stuff off. I do think that that's a good move. From a legal, I'm not a lawyer, but from what I understand of the legal argument, there was a very old court case that said you cannot copyright mechanics. So there's been a build-up in the industry, and as the industry's got bigger, that mechanics cannot be, and it may be defended in law in the future, and there's more definitive answers to that. Because when you add the language to raw mechanics, at what point does it become IP as opposed to just mechanics? And that really is up in the air. So Wizards look like they were prepared to risk all that crazy strategy. And why would they do that? Because ultimately it looks like where Wizards of the Coast wants to go is they want to make D&D a video game. So I think for players who are into role-playing and like role-playing, they should take some interest in seeing what's happened here. The community came out really strong, sent big messages out there with their wallets, pulling subscriptions from D&D and all that sort of stuff to get this change at where we're at. So what it is they've decided not to touch the 1.0A license. That doesn't mean they're going to leave it there forever. And the people who created that license have been all over the internet, the web, Twitter, wherever they can get on, Facebook, letting people know that their understanding of when that license was originally written, it was never to be withdrawn. And that's part of the furor. So how does this affect people? Well, players need to understand that. And I'm sure players know that what the experience you get out of role-playing is not the same as a video game. And having the most major player come out with highly aggressive and legally rubber initial attack at that community that is around role-playing in D&D, even to the point where it appeared in the language that they could just take your stuff that you created for the last 20 years. It's crazy. So the dust has settled a bit, probably because they've got a movie coming out. I think a lot of people have lost trust in D&D and they're looking at alternatives. Pathfinder, Paizo, Competitor, they've come out and said they're going to create a more Linux-based license, a free license. So to sum up, because of all this controversy and all of this legal ambiguity, going to leave the dungeon where it is. I don't want anyone taking the rights to my content. When the dust settles and if there's a nice OSR license out there like Orc, an open license that people can log into and make fantasy content, I might produce it under Orc. We just need to let the dust settle and see what happens. But I think it's important, players, if you don't know about it, take a peek and just see what's been going on. It's crazy stuff, and people who love this game, love the idea of role playing, and understand the to and fro that happens between people when they play. And understand it and never work in a video game, you should be concerned, because a company, the major player coming out and saying it'll determine what is hateful, what is discriminatory, should concern everybody. That there seem to be some attempt to put restrictions around what content people can publish. Crazy stuff. All right, more importantly, now you should know a little bit about what we're up to. Lots of love out to all of you. Hopefully your games are going great. Lots of dice rolling, lots of laughter, lots of fun. Because as I always say, role-playing games, wargaming, gaming and board gaming, it's about having a great time, meeting friends, building a community, and just having a laugh. As always, when you do that, stay safe. Happy gaming. See ya.